Do you find that it's the therapy that's helping them quickly, or do you see that it's medication? Is it medical
Medical
that really is working?
Because even sitting here talking to you, and I get emotional, and I can't imagine our veterans that have been. I was fortunate. 75% of my time in Vietnam, I was on a base. And when I went outside the base, I was automatically into it. When I went out with the 101st, I had some friends, and I just went out with them for 2 weeks, and it was the toughest 2 weeks of my life. So I see what these guys deal with. I was one of the lucky ones. I ended up driving a truck. I couldn't be in an office as a young kid, so I ended up driving deuce and a half between Phu Bai and Da Nang. So I was constantly in a transporting equipment or troops. But I wasn't in the jungles either. I was lucky. So that's
you were fortunate.
Right. So these kids that we're sending over to Afghanistan or Iraq or even Ukraine, if we're sending people there, those kids come back and I don't mean to be, they're young men and young women. I don't mean to say kids, but in reality, I was a kid when I went over there, right?
Yeah.
And if you take one of the facts that I always try to talk about, if you consider the fact that women don't maturely develop their brain until they're like 23, and men are 25, but yet we're sending these kids into a war zone at 20 and 19, 18, 20. We're sending them into a war zone, and they're supposed to perform at 100%.
Right.
And then they come back with PTSD. And I can remember my sergeant saying, suck it up, be a man, and you're almost in tears, right? Because you've seen the worst of people in a war zone. So,
well, that's really the issue then, Bob, is being in a situation where you're not mentally ready for it.
Yeah.
And, at 19, I remember being 19, and we're still trying to figure out who we are.
Yeah.
So being able to help at that point of being young and then just follow through up to, current is where our veterans who need the help really need it from the start of, how it affected their life and where they were at that point. And you remember when you were 19? You remember 19.
Yeah, I remember very, I'm just getting out of high school and my life starting. I'm looking for a career. I just bought, a brand new muscle car.
Okay.
So my mind is
what kind of car?
Drag. I had a Dodge Demon. First I had a 65 Mustang, a 289, and we were into drag racing back then, right?
Okay.
So then when I got home from Vietnam, I bought a 340 Demon. I wanted a Roadrunner, but
that's what
I wanted a 69 Roadrunner, but I went to Vietnam and they changed the 70 and 71 was completely, they redesigned the Roadrunner. And I wasn't crazy about the 70s, so I ended up buying a Dodge Demon. It was a 340, but I was able to beat my buddy who had a 383 Roadrunner because my car weighed about 400 pounds less than his.
Okay.
But those are the times you think about it, and then we're putting these kids into a war zone, and then they're coming home. And the other thing that we need to talk about too is when I came home from Vietnam, I was let out in Washington, the state of Washington. They gave you a plane ticket home. The military didn't do anything for you. They didn't got to reacclimate you back into society. Nothing.
Right.
What are we doing for veterans now? What are we doing when you come back from a war zone? You're mustering out and you're getting out of the service. What are we doing to prepare you?
Right. Where were the thinkers of that time and day where you guys were coming back? But they obviously had no clue of what they were going to be seeing.
Well, when you go through basic training, the drill sergeant's job is to prepare you for war, prepare you, right? And that's why they're so tough on you, because we don't realize at the time how tough we really can be to endure what we're about to see. So the drill sergeant's job is to man you up. And
you think there's training there now for, even though we're not involved in a war, do you think there's training in the services for coming home and the information that you're going to need to be successful as a citizen?
It's much better than it was, but it
Obviously,
certainly needs to be improved.
Okay.
We can always improve on it.
And in what area would we
Just
make
preparing,
the most?
before we let you out of the service, a month before, we should start preparing this troop, this young person, for getting back into society, being a productive person in society.
How do we go about doing that?
Yeah, that's the question.
So there isn't any,
not right now.
any avenue. Okay.
Not right now.
So,
there isn't, but we should have that.
Right.
The military, unfortunately, just okay, you're out of the service.
You're done.
Go on with your life, right?
Right.
And then you're left to deal with the PTSD, and you're sometimes life will throw you a curveball. You break up with your girlfriend, or you get divorced, or
Right.
Just life. Financial issues, and then the PTSD and stuff kicks in. I'm 71 now,
Right. Look good for 71.
and I still have issues with Vietnam.
Right.
I bet you I've talked to my wife 5 times, 6 times maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and it always ends in tears.
How is the support for you, Bob? You get the support that you need?
Yeah, family-wise, I'm one of the lucky ones. My wife is very supportive. We've been married 49 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But if it affects me, it's got to affect the young kids,
Right.
So what are we doing for them? We expect these young kids to go over and fight a war, supporting American interests, but when they come home, we pay them. What do we pay them when they're doing it out of the honor of serving for their country? What do we pay them? But when they come home, we treat refugees better than we do our own troops. I mean, that's crazy.
That's got to turn.
That's got to turn. It's got to change. The veterans, we owe them a lot.
Yes.
And then the families of those that didn't survive these wars. Well, what about those families?
Right.
I've got a bill right now that the Blue Star moms, have never been recognized, and they've been in existence since World War II, 1942. In Michigan, in Flint, Michigan, we're the longest standing Blue Moms organization in the country, but yet we have not recognized them. Ohio just did it a year ago. They set a February 1st as Blue Stars Mom's Day, right?
Okay.
And so I've got a bill right now, and they have a Senate bill. I think it's Senator Altman that's got it, and I've got the bill in the House. We're trying to get them passed at the same time, just to recognize the good work that the Blue Star moms do in supporting, especially those that come back and the families where the young troops don't come back.
Okay.
So we're trying to help them. There's so many things that we can do, and again, Livingston County, we're way ahead of the curveball about helping our troops, but we're not good enough yet. We need to do more. We need to. I think the one sitting here talking to you, I think the one big thing we need to do is identify a lot of these people, get them to come in. How do we do that? The billboard was part of it.
Okay.
We advertise. A veteran goes by that. Yeah, I might go down and see the new facility and see what's available, what services are there,
Mm-hmm.
and the mindset of there's another guy that needs it, the guy that's lost his arm, which those people have sacrificed more. I came home, I've got some issues, but I've got all my limbs.
You got your limbs, right?
And there's a lot of people that come home and don't have that, and then we send them home and they're by themselves to deal with the mental aspects of dealing
Right.
with war, right? So the long term, we've got a short term fix here that I'm pretty proud of, but the long term fix, what are we doing statewide? And that's why I ran for state rep, and that's why I wanted to be one of the committees I'm on is Veterans Affairs, to see what we can do.
Well, you definitely want to be involved, and we appreciate all that you've done.
Right.
Not only your service, but afterwards, and how you're taking care of business. And people have to realize that they do have to get involved,
Yes.
especially if you have a veteran that needs the care.
Good.
Hi, Best of Brighton. I'm Nancy Moon Kirby. I'm a licensed nail tech with the state of Michigan. I offer pedicures, manicures, and gel polish. If you're in need of any service, just message me. Thanks, Best of Brighton.
Hi, I'm Mark Shea, and this is Body by Mark. Here we do a complete line of repairs, collision repairs, anything at all that happens in an accident, we can fix it. We also do restoration repairs, and there's not a lot of shops around here that do it. We're working on a 2009 Jeep Wrangler. It's a TJ, and we are replacing a frame rail, which is very common on these. If you need an estimate, I'll even come to your house and do it for you.
And then even like I don't want to ever forget the surviving spouse or the family too,
Right.
because they deal with issues as well, and we have services to provide for them.
Okay.
So we can never forget the surviving families. And
Is that
spouse.
through the same number?
Yep.
The charity
Yep.
number.
The
So that
546.
really covers everything then. The charity number for families,
Mhm.
for people that are suffering now, that need the help, that haven't got the help.
Well, we identify the problems here initially through the application, and then if it's a financial need, we have to approve it through the board. So we have the veteran come in, and we have an interview process. But this bill that I spoke of earlier prevents that from being public knowledge.
Right, I like that.
Yeah,
That's nice.
That's a huge success in the last year for veterans, because if you come into our board meeting and it's zoomed out to everybody, why would you sit there and at your most vulnerable time tell people that I haven't got a dime to my
Yeah,
name?
it's not an AA meeting.
No, right. So I'm pretty happy that bill passed the House and Senate, and it took effect here about 6 months ago. So that's
good
It
news.
seems like we're taking baby steps, but we're progressing where before we weren't doing anything.
Right.
We can always do more. I believe that, and that's why I'm going to stay involved in the Veterans Affairs Board on both Livingston County and the state level. We've got some good people at the state level. You know, Josh Parrish does some good work up in Lansing. He's constantly trying to help veterans at the state level, and we've talked and identifying that the biggest issue is identifying who needs the help and convincing them to come in and get help. And you're right; it starts with the family, convincing them that let's go in and see what's
Comfort.
going on. But what about the guys? What about the guys that live by themselves?
Right.
The Vietnam era
That's
vets,
the real issue.
they've lost their wife or their family. Their kids have gone on with their own. They're home by themselves.
Are there statistics, Bob, on what's going on? Say the 22.
Yeah.
Are there statistics out there saying, okay, this was caused by no family, illness, obviously illness.
The state,
What is the main?
so we can identify the issue and go
Yes.
after, right?
Yeah, what is it?
Wouldn't that make common sense?
Yes.
We don't do a very good job with that at the state
So there's
level.
no recording of the
No.
situation, because if we
We know
dug
we
a little deeper into each case and we found out that, well, we'll say Tom. Tom didn't have a family. All his family perished, so Tom was alone.
Mhm.
To me, just hearing that would convince me that, hey, if Tom had somebody, even a neighbor or something, to
Yeah.
check up on him, Tom would still be around today.
That's right.
So let's be focused on that. It's not always money. Money doesn't solve. We could throw all kinds of
That's
money
right.
at this, Bob, and nothing.
You're right. It's not
nothing
gonna
would
bring
work.
It's not going to bring that 22 down.
Right.
You know,
So let's be focused on getting these numbers down and getting the help that these veterans need. Seeing where they're at. If you have a neighbor that is a veteran and you know he doesn't have family, please check on him.
yes.
You know,
Check
it's not
on
that
him.
hard.
Yeah.
You know,
you
it's like
become a
saying,
friend
hello,
or-
how are you doing?
Exactly right. How are you
And-
doing today? And
Right,
you know, it's the same thing with our senior citizens. We have an obligation to take care of our seniors, right?
correct.
And we have many organizations around Livingston County that does a good job to take care of seniors. We have to develop that same type of resource for veterans.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. And I'm not, hopefully if there are good people in Livingston County elect me, I want to be the chair of Veterans Affairs. That's the only thing I want to do.
Great.
I want
And
to,
when would that happen?
well, I'm hoping that if I get reelected, that I could ask for the chair position next session, and that way I could drive some issues. I could, what are our needs, not only financially, but what are we doing? I don't want to bring politics into this, but I think President Trump did a good job of identifying some of the medical issues at our VA facilities, right,
Mhm.
and prioritizing some of that stuff. We've gotten better in that area.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't identify and talk about it, it's like anything else. It goes to the bottom of the pile.
Right.
And
It's ignored.
we've got these other priorities that we're dealing with. We always have to keep the veterans, people talking about that. The American Legion Hall, Bobby Bright and Dale Brewer does the DAV.
Okay.
Mark, Mark's going to kill me too. I forgot Mark's last name. He's the president of the DAV. Butch Ogden is the president or commander over at VFW 6464.
Okay.
Veterans can kind of migrate to these facilities, and veterans can talk about veterans. What are you doing? And this is what I'm dealing with. So it's a camaraderie that we get them together. And then Bobby Bright, who's a commander of American Legion, he identifies, and we've met with him and say, okay, if you see a veteran needs help, whatever it is, let us know.
Right.
So we do have that process with the VFW Hall in Fowlerville and the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, that Dale Brewer. We have a Veteran of the Year award coming up on April 23rd at the Hamburg Township VFW, and we'll identify the Veteran of the Year award, and so we try to honor our veterans.
Okay. Let me know about that, and we can cover that.
Okay.
And we will try and get involved as much as we can, and let's make this process work.
There's a lot to do. I mean, we can all get involved, and families can get involved, take care of our veterans, and, especially they're very proud people.
Mm-hmm. Well, we owe it to them, and let's be responsible and help you guys out, and just let this grow into something where we get those numbers down to single digits.
We got to get those numbers down. I mean, we're losing. I mean, I seen a number yesterday. We're down to about, I don't want to say a number, World War II veterans. We're down to, 5,000 or 6,000, I think, what the number was. Vietnam veterans, we're down to about 700,000 is the last number I saw. And them numbers, if
we're getting older, those numbers are depleting.
If we continue to lose 22 a day by suicide, natural causes and all that stuff. I mean, if we died from a heart attack, we all kind of understand that, but when we have veterans committing suicide, and we're not
acceptable.
It's not acceptable. We're not doing enough to help them.
Right.
And that's being involved with Livingston County Veterans Affairs, and then being involved at the state level. And we have 5 agencies within Livingston County that are helping veterans. So there's a lot of good work happening right here with all these agencies. Bobby Bright, we had about 2 weeks ago, we had what they call a bear night, an auction. That all that money goes to help veterans. They can go there and eat. It's a reduced price. The VFW Hall in Fowlerville, we have every third Sunday we have a breakfast for veterans. It's minimal cost just to provide for the food and everything, but we go in there every third Sunday and we talk to veterans and how are you doing, and so we try to identify us as a group. We always try, as veterans, try to identify other veterans that may need help. But we all got that brotherhood. A veteran always has that brotherhood, and they're willing to talk to a veteran where they might not be willing to talk. Even Mary Durst is former military, so we understand the military mind thought, what they're going through, both mentally and the reasons why they don't want to get help.
Okay.
We try to do advertising like the billboard, and if you need help, come in and see us.
Right.
So.
Well, let's build this. Let's build on the fact that we can get 5 or 6 veterans together and share this information.